Welcome to the Roan Solutions podcast. In this podcast, Craig Robbenheimer of Roan Solutions and Lisa McHale discuss how managed services can help business owners. You can reach Roan Solutions at 877-774-4647, or you can find us on the web at roansolutions.com. That's R-O-A-N, roansolutions.com.
Have you ever worked in a scenario where somebody refused the backup recovery system that you offer within your managed services program, continued to use their tape, and then had a corruption or something, and then you did have to go in and work on it for days? Has that ever happened to you at Roan Solutions?
Actually, it did happen to us about 3 months ago. We had a fairly large client of ours who we were working with, and we were suggesting very strongly that they should upgrade to a newer version of backup and move away from tape. And as it turned out, they had a hardware failure on the machine, on the server, and they were down for probably about 4 days. And unfortunately, the ability to get parts and the ability to get that server back up and running, it now is no longer under our control. And we are relying exclusively on third parties and trying to get the parts in and trying to get the company up and running quickly. And it's unfortunate because it took a disaster like this for them to understand and realize, and obviously there was an understanding of the risk and a true understanding of the value in having a superior backup that will not only back up but allow the environment to be virtualized. And we did indicate to them that in this situation, within half an hour, we could have had you back up and running. We would have weeks or days, whatever's needed in order to bring the other piece of hardware up. And also, if they wanted to bring in a new server, we could do what is called a bare metal restore, which will allow us to take that same operating system and functionality that was on the old server and move it onto a completely new server with different hardware, and be able to bring that up and bring that machine up without having to stream tape and very quick through hard disk data transfers. You can get the environment up very, very quickly. So it's unfortunate they now do have a disaster recovery appliance in the environment, and they've learned a lesson, and it's just unfortunate that it takes Armageddon for people to realize that, well, yes, I've got to look after this better. I've got to spend a very small amount of money each month, insurance money, to reduce the risk of having going down again.
If they were taking you up on the Roan Solutions backup disaster recovery service for the last year, what would that have cost them?
So typically what you'd be looking at is a monthly cost of somewhere around $300. That would include a large amount of off-site data.
So, Craig, it would have cost $3,600 for them to have had the backup disaster recovery system in place, let's say from last year when you originally recommended the solution. And when their system failed, they had the hardware failure, they were still on the tape system. How much did it actually cost the client to retrieve the data from the tape as opposed to the half an hour that would have been included in your managed services program?
Just to retrieve the information was $4,600, Lisa.
Wow. So they, on top of the lost time, the productivity, having to get new equipment in a rush situation, if they had taken your original recommendation and done the backup disaster recovery program from a year ago, they would have spent less money and not have had the downtime.
That's correct.